Hi, I'm Dr. Donna Lane.
And I'm Dr. David Lane.
We're going to continue our conversation today about the top 10 most important strategies for effective parenting. And today, David is going to talk about understanding your child's job description. So, David, what do you mean by understanding their job description?
Well, we came up with this concept years ago when our kids were little, and I've taught at some universities. I taught for a bit in early childhood education when I was in my doctoral program, and we've used it a lot with parents. And the concept is that my child has a job to do. At every age, at every developmental stage, my child has a job to do. And so if I can understand what my child's job is, I can help my child figure out how to best accomplish the task of that job and to help them in any way that I can to meet the task of that job while providing the structure, the bumpers, the guardrails that they need to be safe and they need to steer in the right direction uh, while not inhibiting or pressing down on them in a way that's going to go counter to what it is they're trying to learn and what it is that they need to learn. So we start with really early childhood. When a child's born, what's their job? If you think about they have a job to do. What's their job? Well, when they're really little, their job is to bond with mama or the caretaker. Their job is to nurse. Their job is to sleep. Their job is to pee and poop. That's what they do. They sleep, they eat, they pee, poop, they cry, they do all of those kind of things that give us opportunities as parents to help them fulfill their task. When they're crying, we can pick them up and we can hold them. When they're nursing, we get to hold them and dad can give them the bottle. Mom, if she's breastfeeding, gets to breastfeed. Then dad can give them the middle of the night bottle. But everybody has an opportunity to help fulfill that job of bonding and joining with the parents, growing attached to the parents, learning how to trust the parents. That's their job when they're 6 months old. Then they start to get some locomotion. At about 6, 9 months, they start crawling, maybe pulling up. And on average, children are walking by the time they're about 12 months. And the range is kind of 10 months to about 14 is normal. So 12 months is arbitrary, but say about a year, just have a round number. They begin to explore their environment. And this goes on from when they get locomotion, start crawling at 6, 8, 9 months, all the way up till about 2 years of age. Their job is to separate from mama and separate from daddy and begin to be a little bit independent, not quite there yet, but they explore their environment. Now, we frequently run into problems with our children because everything's got to go in the mouth. Everything they pick up got to go in the mouth. And why is that? Well, the reason for that is that's how they explore. That's part of their exploration. They don't have an awareness of what everything is their environment. They can't yet point and say, that's the sofa, that's the light, that's the car in the driveway, that's the tree in the yard. They can't do that. What they can do because of nursing reflex is they can understand things by putting it in their mouth. So their job is to put things in their mouth and thereby explore the world. When they begin to move, they get to go check out things. They get to leave the room. They've always kind of been in the room with a caregiver to this point, but now they start venturing away just a little bit. And so my job becomes to help facilitate that. Then we come to about 2 years of age, and we've all heard of the terrible twos. And I got some really bad news for parents. The terrible twos are parent created. That's the really bad news. Because if I understand my child's job, then I can help facilitate that job and we don't have to be terrible. So when a child hits about 2 years of age, sometimes it starts as early as 18 or 20 months. Sometimes it doesn't start till 28 or 30 months. But the child begins to realize, I am separate from my mother. I'm separate from my caregivers. I'm separate from my parents. And they want that authority over their life. And they want autonomy. They want to be a separate individual and they want to feel the power in their life. Well, they can't sit down with you and go, Mama, I really need to take power over my own life and function in an autonomous manner. Not many 2-year-olds can do that. In fact, I've never met one that could do that. But if I understand that that's what they need, then I can give them opportunities to have power in a way that we don't have to fight about. For instance, we talked about in a previous episode about choices, giving your child choice. Start at a really young age. Do you want the green beans? I'm holding an imaginary jar of baby food. Do I want the green beans or do you want the green peas today? Well, I'm setting the parameters. I'm setting the structure. I'm putting up the guardrails because they're going to get a green vegetable that day. But they get to choose. And if they feel like they have power, do you want to wear the red shirt today? Do you want to wear the blue shirt? Or maybe the yellow shirt? Which one would you like to wear today? And they get to choose, and they start in the little things. So then when they get to the terrible twos, you say to them, you've got a choice. Here's the choice. You can stop messing with the wall outlet, the wall socket, because it's not safe, or I can move you away from the wall socket. Which one would you prefer? And they'll test you, they'll try you, but then you pick them up and move them. You gave them the choice, and if they get upset, well, I gave you the choice. I asked you to move away because it's not safe. So always think choice, and you can avoid much of the terrible twos because what they are trying to do at that stage is express their autonomy, express their independence, and realize that they have the authority in their life and they have the power. And that's true of us, right? You're now 20, 40, however old you are, and you want authority over your life. You want to be the ones making the decision. You want the choice. Now, how many of you like for people to be telling you what to do all the time? Not a soul that I know of. Everybody that I know of wants the authority to make the decisions in their life and be in charge of their own life. And that starts at about age 2. My job as a good supervisor at the job site is to understand that that's what they're trying to do and provide plenty of opportunities for them to do that by offering the choices in every possible way. I've got to keep them safe. I've got to keep them healthy, and but I can give them a multitude of choices every day and help them learn how to have power in their own life. You make it through the terrible twos and the toilet training that goes along with that, and really toilet training is about personal authority as well. Having control over my body is what toilet training is really about. And they don't know that they're not losing a piece of themselves. There's all of these, psychoanalytic constructs that have been surmised, et cetera. But we understand that that's just another expression of self-control and having authority. Then we can help them facilitate that. So we get through 2 years of age, understanding that their idea is I must become independent because that's everybody's goal. And then we move to about age 3 to 5 developmentally. In this age, their job is to begin to go out into the world and meet peers and begin to learn how to socialize. And so my job as their supervisor is to facilitate those opportunities. There are tasks that they need to accomplish, just like a supervisor at any job, anywhere. I need to provide an environment in which they can do that. And so I help them with opportunities to meet other children about their age, maybe go to preschool. Some people want to keep them at home all the time, and either one is wonderful. But my job is to help them find a way to be social because that's what they're learning to do at that time. Then they enter school at about age 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. Pre-kindergarten, some people do. Kindergarten, some people do. And some people don't start until first grade. But they begin at that point to learn a greater depth of socialization and learn about the world outside the home. They also begin to learn how to be industrious, how to do the work that they have to do at school every day, and how to take the initiative to join in with groups of kids playing on the playground at recess or with an activity in the classroom or something like that. They take their job is to take the initiative to be industrious and to learn how to work well with other peers and greater depth of socialization. My job as their supervisor is once again to provide them with an environment in which they can do that. If there's problems with that, then I help them figure out a solution, how to do that. He's being mean to me at school. She said something that wasn't nice. Okay, here's how we can figure out how to deal with that. And I'm confident that you know that you'll be able to do it. There's no question in my mind that you're capable and you can do these things. And here's how you help with that. What do you think about that idea? Always give them the choice again. I can give them an idea, but I ask them what they think about it. How would that fit in what they're thinking? So this rock zone, with that developmental stage, with my job helping them to go out in the world, helping them to increase industriousness and productivity, so to speak, and learn how to have good social interactions until they hit puberty. Then things change pretty rapidly. There are biological imperatives that start to kick in at puberty. In fact, the definition of puberty and pubescence is the age of sexual maturity. So I have to understand at this point, as their job supervisor, that this is going to become an issue for them. Little boys go girl crazy, little girls go boy crazy, and they begin to feel that biological push that all of us feel in the age of puberty. And I have to give them information. My job is to make them well prepared for how to do this, help keep them safe while they are beginning to interact with members of that they're sexually attracted to, for want of a better word, although at 12 years old, that's not quite the accurate description, but that's the biological imperative. And so I help them by giving them information, by helping them understand what's going on. And I don't mean you sit down with them and you talk about all the things, although you might want to, but that's not absolutely necessary. What I help them do is understand how they're feeling and why they're feeling that. And it's perfectly natural to do that while they're going through a puberty. And it's a struggle for just about everybody because everything is changing so quickly, changing so rapidly, so dramatically. It's a real struggle for everybody. And I know that as a supervisor for them. And I help provide an environment where that's okay for them to be developing as they are developing and give them the information that they need to be successful, while always keeping in mind their safety and their well-being. And now I'm adding in lessons about responsibility, because my job description as a supervisor for them changes as their job description changes. So I have to teach them early on about being respectful of others, about being responsible for themselves and for their thoughts and their feelings and their behaviors, and being responsible for their actions in particular. And as we move into puberty, that becomes even more pressing because things are about to change pretty radically. As a teenager, they've moved through puberty now, and their job as a teenager is to answer the basic question, who am I and who am I going to be? i.e. issues of identity and interaction and fulfillment in the world. Who am I and who am I going to be? My job as a supervisor of that person doing that task is to help them explore. Again, we're back to exploration. To help them find greater autonomy, to let them make more decisions about what it is that they want to take a look at, what it is that they want to explore, while keeping them safe, while helping them be responsible and teaching them continued lessons about responsibility and respectfulness, etc. And I can do that by talking things over with them, helping them process different decisions that they have to make as a teenager and answer those basic questions, let them explore. I remember when our kids, hit 8th, 9th, 8 and started hitting those every year, it was a different haircut and a different set of clothes. They've got to look this way and I want to look this way. Okay, that's part of your exploration. That's part of figuring out who I am, where I fit in, how I'm going to be in the world. And so it's okay to do that within boundaries. And I remember one time Mama went to take them back to school shopping. And I came home from work or something. And I said, okay, so let's see the clothes. And they sort of wore, and one of them wore something down. And I said, that's great to wear up in your room, but that's the only place that's going to be worn. in this world. And he or she, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was our oldest, but he didn't like it. But I said, it's okay. You can have it and you can wear it. And, I might even tolerate it downstairs, but up in your room is the best place to wear that. Or you could take it back to Old Navy, which was the cool place at the time. And I can't remember. It seems like he took it back. I can't remember what he decided to do, but it was still his choice. He could wear it. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but he's restricted where he can wear it because I set the boundaries. I keep the guardrails up. I teach them respect for themselves, for others, for responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So as they move through teenagehood, difficult decisions face them every day. And as their supervisor, difficult decisions fall to me. I've got to help them process how they're doing in school. I've got to help them process and navigate social relationships. I've got to help them process and navigate sexual identity and sexual relationships. I've got to help them process and navigate big life decisions like where am I going after I graduate school? Am I going to go to college? If so, how do I figure that out? If I'm not going to do that, what am I going to do? And I help them process all those major decisions, which is huge, huge milestones that they're hitting there as late teenagers and young adults. My job is to help them process, help them have the information while keeping up the guardrails, let them make increasing amounts of decisions, processing those decisions with them and trying to figure out an outcome. And that gets them to college, where my job at that point is pretty much done. In college, I kind of keep an eye on them. And because, there's a whole lot of things can happen at college, and I help process those kind of things, figure out the issues that they are struggling with or likely to struggle with. And I help them process all of that and figure the things out. But the truth is, if they're living away from home going to college, my role with them is essentially gone. It's at very, very maximum, it's cut down to 5 or 10%. It's not like they're in the house with me all day, every day, and I can talk with them and teach the lessons that I think are necessary to be taught, et cetera. They're out of my sight the vast majority of the time. And I've got to pray that the lessons that we learned the first 18 years are going to fare them well when they get into the college environment.
Well, my job at that point, and so it kind of switches. And instead of being their supervisor, I have my own job, which is to release them, let them fly from the nest, so to speak. And that's a lot harder than it sounds. For those of you who have not gotten to that stage yet, you kind of want to keep herding over them, or keep setting those parameters and boundaries so that you make sure that they don't do anything untoward. And it's really not possible to do that if they're living away from home, as David said. So it becomes my job to let them go, to let them grow up, to let them make their own mistakes, to be available for them, but not intrude on them. And that's a really hard job that we have as parents.
A really hard part of the job is watching them make mistakes, even when they're little, because how does a person learn to overcome adversity? By having some adversity and overcoming it.
Right.
How does a person learn to problem solve? By having some problems and learning how to solve them. And the list goes on and on and on like that of how we learn. How do we learn? I pray for patience every now and then, but I really don't want the lessons necessary to teach me patience. But I pray for it nonetheless. But then the hard lessons come, and I learn by going through those kind of things. And so my job as a parent is sometimes to get out of the way and let the natural consequences unfold. If I solve my children's problems for them, what are they learning? They're learning somebody's going to solve their problems for them and that they don't have to do it. If I keep my children out of adversity and crisis situations, what are they learning? Somebody's always going to take care of the difficult times for me. That does not bode them well, because I promise the day is going to come where they're going to need to know that I can deal with adversity. Mm-hmm. I know how to solve problems, because it's going to come stare them in the face, and they've got no choice but to deal with it.
Yeah. Most importantly, they don't need you to prevent them from experiencing the consequences of their own choices.
Right.
Because if they don't experience those consequences and you rescue them from those consequences, what do they learn? They learn somebody's going to rescue me. So it doesn't matter what I do, there'll always be somebody to bail me out.
Right.
And that's not a helpful lesson at all. It's really hard as a parent to sit there and watch them experience the consequence of really bad choices. And sometimes you just, I just want to put my arms around them. No, got to let them experience it. You can't take care of it for them. You can't prevent it from happening. You've got to allow the consequence to come. Natural consequence that they have chosen, you've got to allow that to come.
Right.
So we essentially, kind of going back to the beginning, we start with trust and bonding, and then we have individuation. Then we have the kind of branching out in socialization, and then we have the sexual part of things, which is that changing of the relationships between male and female. And then we have the second individuation, which is basically the terrible twos redone.
At 14 to 18.
At 14. So you have that experience again. And then you have launching, where they leave home. And all of those jobs are extremely important. And as a parent, our job is to keep in mind, what are they really doing?
And be a good supervisor while they do it.
And then let me supervise them effectively while they do it.